sun was already out. So somehow he made it to the bathroom, he hit snooze, and he just laid down in the hallway and fell back asleep. He said the fourth day, he had a really important business meeting he had to go to, right, for work. So he had to fly to like Amsterdam or something, one of those countries over there, like one of the cities over there, and he had to sign a deal, and he was gonna make like 50 G's just like by signing this piece of paper, okay? Like because he was just trading or whatever. All halal, alhamdulillah. So he said, I woke up, I got ready, I went to the airport, parked my car, got in the plane, went, and as I was sitting in the plane, that didn't take off yet, as I was sitting down in my seat, my alarm on my phone went off for Fajr. He said I started crying in the plane. Tears started coming down my face, started crying. And I said, why'd you start crying? You woke up for Fajr, right? You're awake, you can pray. He said, Sheikh, even though I'm not a Sheikh, but whatever. He said, Sheikh, I started crying because I realized that I worship money. I don't worship Allah. He said, and it really killed me. Like I could wake up to go sign a deal, but I can't wake up to pray to Allah for 5 minutes. How weak am I? Inna fil jasadi mudghah. إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. If we have one thing in this body of ours, if it's good, the rest of everything will be okay. But you know what? If it's sick, no matter how hard we try to be healthy, if we don't fix the sickness in the heart, nothing else will work. And this happens all the time, by the way. How many of y'all know that you shouldn't be eating kunafa every night? Or chocolate cake? Like, look at, I'm trying to lose weight, right? So I go to the grocery store and I see that chocolate cake and I'm like, my heart is like, man, do it. YOLO, right? It's chocolate cake. My brain is like, dude, you're really overweight. You gotta lose weight, fatty. My heart's like, don't listen to him, right? You're good as you are. You're perfect as you are. Our brain and heart fight all the time, don't they? When your heart wants something, your brain says no, but your heart says yes, right? So the hadith is we experience this hadith every day. When we know we shouldn't do something, but we still do it. Or we know that we should do something and we don't do it. So that's why it's important to purify the heart. So let's talk about some ways to purify the heart, inshallah, and then we'll take some questions, okay? Number one, Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, he said that the quickest ways to the heart, the quickest ways are the eyes and the ears. Like he said, whatever you look at and whatever you see, your heart will fall in love with those things. Let me tell you a story actually to show this. One of my friends, a good friend of mine actually, he came over and he said, Abdurrahman, I have a problem I want to talk to you about. I said, sure, what's up? He said, I just made Umrah. Anyone here made Umrah before? Anyone visited Mecca, Medina? MashaAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always invite us for Umrah. Say Ameen. May He never take us off the guest list. Say Ameen. You know, have you guys ever had a party where all your friends were invited and you weren't invited? I've never experienced that, so what does it feel like? Right? But, you know, it's always sad when people get to go to Hajj and Umrah and you think to yourself, okay, next year, and then like you never get to go. Because that's an invitation from Allah. So we have to be sincere and ask Allah, oh Allah, take us to Umrah, inshallah. I'm taking a group in December, you should come with me, inshallah. It's really fun. It's a good trip, inshallah. So, Christmas break, inshallah. You'll announce it, I'll announce it, inshallah. But the point is that this brother told me he went for Umrah. And he said that, okay, so who went for Umrah again? Tell me real quick, raise your hand. Okay, from the youngest. So, when you saw the Kaaba for the first time, explain to me, like, what did that feel like?
It was like empowering.
Very good word. The Kaaba is like jalal. It's like super like powerful. You know, people say Medina is really peaceful, and they say Mecca is just like, it's like Times Square times 1,000 on steroids, right? Okay, what else? Who else saw the Kaaba? What did you feel? Yeah? Uplifting. Especially when you see the people going around it, like the thousands of people, you're like, man, I'm part of something big, you know? I'm not just like a loner in New Jersey. Even though in Patterson is basically like mini Palestine over here, mashallah, but you know, you don't feel alone over here, but sometimes you do. Sometimes you feel alone, you know? Like you see the news, Islamophobia, this and that, you're like, man, we're weird, I guess. We're like strangers or something, even though the Prophet said we're strangers, right? So when you see the Kaaba, I'll tell you what I see. When I saw the Kaaba for the first time, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. Even now when I go and I make tawaf, it's actually from the adab of the Prophet Muhammad when he made Umrah. He didn't look at the Kaaba, he would look down or he would look forward. So it's not haram to look at it, but it's from the sunnah not to. But you know what? I told my shaykh, I said, Shaykh, I'm sorry, man. The Prophet used to live in Mecca, and then he would come visit, like, when I would do tawaf, I have to look at it, I'm sorry. You know, it's just so magnetic. So this brother came to my house, and he said, Abdurrahman, I have a problem. I said, what? He said, I went and made Umrah. I was like, that's not a problem, that's amazing. Congratulations. He said, no, the problem is that when I entered the haram and I looked at the Kaaba, he said, I felt disgusted. And he started, at my kitchen, I still remember this, in Richardson, Texas, at my kitchen table, he started crying. He said, when I looked at the Kaaba, I felt repulsed. Like, I feel even weird saying it, right? And he said, what's wrong with me? Like, no one I've ever talked to has ever felt this way. So I asked him a question, and it was a very serious question. I said, how long have you been looking at pornography? And he said, how did you know? And I said, man, we learned from our teachers in Islamic studies and all the sciences that we learned, in the Quran and the Hadith, we learned that if the heart falls in love with something that is haram, it will never be able to appreciate something that's halal. If the heart loves things that are poisonous, it will never love things that are not poisonous. Imam Siraj Wahaj, you guys know Imam Siraj? Imam Siraj Wahaj is like the Imam of America. If he walks into any masjid, he deserves the microphone right away. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him. He's an amazing person, mashallah. Imam Siraj told a story that's very similar to this. He said that he grew up in Brooklyn, right? Tap water is not too fresh over there, right? The water is full of chemicals and things like that. Even here, in big cities, we don't have like fresh water, you know? When you have Zamzam, you taste the difference a little bit. When you have water here, it tastes kind of like fluoride and chemicals, but alhamdulillah. So he said he grew up in the city, he grew up with chemical water, right? Like fluoride, so it's clean, but it has this unique taste to it. So he said one time he visited a community where there was like these fresh mountains, maybe like Seattle, where there's like fresh streams, like spring water. And he said the brothers took him up there and they gave him a glass of water from that fresh stream. And they said, Imam Siraj, we know you grew up in the city, you don't get a chance to come and explore nature much, but I want you to try this water. This water is fresh spring water. Like, I don't think you've ever had this before. So he's like, yeah, let me try it. So he took the glass and he held it to his lips and he took a sip. And he said the minute that it touched the back of his throat, right, the minute that he started swallowing the water, he started coughing and gagging. And he said, he said that this is a proof that I'm a city boy, right? That I'm used to city water, not fresh water. So if the body is used to something that's like not natural, not wholesome, not pure, then it won't be able to take it. So Imam Ghazali, when he said that the eyes are the direct link to the heart, you have to ask yourself, like, is Game of Thrones worth your relationship with Allah? Is it? Right? Are those haram commercials worth your relationship with Allah? Now I know when Mama's walking in the room, then all of a sudden we become Shaykh mashallah shiyukh, right? Turn the TV off, start praying, like salawat on the Prophet sallallahu. Then when Mama leaves, you turn it back on. It doesn't matter what commercial's on. I remember one time in my apartment in college, I turned the TV off during a haram commercial where it was like some like lingerie ad or something, and one of the guys is like, "Why'd you turn it off, man?" Muslim guy, and I was like, "Did you just admit in front of all of us that you're a pervert? Like, did you just do that, right?" But the real deal is that if you're used to watching that stuff, then you'll just sort of be desensitized, right? So number one is watch what you look at. If you're worried about the health of your heart, watch what enters these two things right here. And also be careful what you listen to. Be careful what you listen to. And I know a lot of people are like, I just listen to music for the beat, but be careful because the lyrics can be poisonous. No church in the wild. What do you say? What's a God to a non-believer? Drake, what do you say? I can't imagine heaven being much better than this. You guys ever hear that lyric? I can't imagine heaven being much better than this. Drake is talking about the dunya. He's saying the dunya, I can't imagine heaven being much better than this. Is there a problem with that statement? Is Jannah better than this? Of course it is. But you know what? When we listen to these things over and over again, we're like, man, that beat is dope. It's fresh, mashallah. Don't say mashallah, right? But you're like, it's dope. Then that thing just penetrates your heart, and then eventually, like, you'll be walking around eating like some like New York style pizza or something. I don't know, whatever it is. And you're like, man, I can't imagine heaven being much better than this. And the angel on the left is like, you fool. Right? So be careful what you listen to. And I'm not telling you because I'm going to bust you. I'm not telling you because your parents are going to hit you with the ship. I'm telling you because at some point, listen to this, at some point you have to take ownership over your deen. At some point you're going to be be handed the car keys. And you got to drive, homie. Like, you got to leave. Mama and Baba won't always be there to remind you what's halal and haram. And at some point, if we go too far away from the straight path, we won't find our way back. It's not a guarantee, right? If you've ever been hiking before, you know exactly what's up. So number one is be careful what you watch and what you listen to. Number two, be very careful who you hang out with. Be careful who your friends are. The Prophet Muhammad said, "Al-maru ala dini khalili," that a person will be on the lifestyle of their friends, their close friends. Be careful who you're with. And by the way, I'm going to say something that might shock you. You guys ready? Being a Muslim doesn't automatically mean that person's a good friend. And being a non-Muslim doesn't mean that person's automatically a bad friend. You should choose your friends based off the content of their character, not only off their religion. Sometimes there's an association, right? You hope that people who claim Islam have good character. But it's not always the case. In Chicago, some of the best drug dealers that in the city were Muslim, right? And some of the most pious people I've ever met in my life were not Muslim. So choose good friends. You're not always going to have a plethora of Muslims to be friends with. You go to work, go to school. Choose good people based off of their akhlaq, off of their character. Have people who remind you to pray even if they're not Muslim. Hey, shouldn't you be praying? Right? Hey,